He thought she was weak. Just another quiet teacher who couldn't stand up for herself. That's what made him smirk when he cornered her in front of the class, his hand tightening around her throat while everyone froze in shock. But what no one knew, not the students, not the staff, not even the principal, was that this woman carried a past carved in blood, sweat, and steel. A past that would break him in ways he could never imagine. Stay with me because this story will not end the way you think. The morning started like any other. The classroom smelled faintly of chalk and old wood, sunlight cutting through dusty blinds, and the students restless after the lunch bell. Among them was Brandon, a 17-year-old whose reputation stretched far beyond the school gates. He was tall, broad, the kind of boy who believed size was power. He'd been suspended twice for fighting, once for stealing, and countless times for tormenting kids too afraid to stand against him. And today he wanted to prove his dominance in front of the only person who dared give him rules, his English teacher, Miss Carter. You can feel it, can't you? The tension building in the air, the storm about to break. Miss Carter wasn't like the other teachers. She spoke softly, carried herself with grace, and never once raised her voice. To many she seemed fragile, almost too gentle for the raw chaos of teenagers. But beneath her calm exterior lived memories of desert winds, midnight oceans, and the relentless drills of Navy SEAL training. She had lived another life before stepping into this classroom, one she had locked away in silence. Until this moment. Until him. Keep listening because this is where the story shifts into something unforgettable. It started with whispers. Brandon mocked her as she wrote on the board, his voice dripping with venom. The students laughed nervously, caught between fear and entertainment. She ignored him the way she always did, choosing patience over confrontation. But Brandon wasn't looking for patience today. He wanted fear. He wanted the power to crush her calm. And when she asked him quietly to take his seat, he exploded. His chair screeched back, he stormed toward her, and before anyone could process what was happening, his hand was clamped around her throat, squeezing, testing her. The classroom gasped. Time seemed to stop. Do you feel your chest tighten, wondering what happens next? For a brief second, Miss Carter looked into his eyes, not with fear but with something colder. Something that made his grin falter. Her training surfaced like an instinct, muscles remembering what her mind tried to forget. In one motion, so swift it seemed unreal, she twisted his wrist, pulled him off balance, and within a heartbeat, Brandon was face down on the floor, gasping, his arm locked painfully behind his back. The class erupted in silence, the kind that deafens more than screams. And in that silence, Brandon's world cracked. Can you imagine the humiliation, the disbelief written across his face as he realized she wasn't fragile at all? Her grip was firm, unyielding, yet precise, calculated not to break him, only to control him. Every move spoke of discipline, of years spent in places he couldn't dream of surviving. And as she leaned closer, her voice calm, steady, she whispered, "Power isn't about fear, Brandon. It's about control. And right now you've lost it." The words sliced deeper than any punishment. He froze, body trembling, not from pain but from the sudden weight of truth. "Keep leaning in, you're going to want to hear what comes next." The principal rushed in moments later, alerted by the commotion. Students pointed, stammered, their eyes wide with stories they'd retell for years. Brandon was pulled up, shaken, his arrogance shattered. But instead of pressing charges, instead of humiliating him further, Miss Carter did something no one expected. She asked to speak with him alone. The room buzzed with disbelief, but her eyes left no room for argument. Doesn't it make you wonder, why mercy when vengeance would have been so easy? In the quiet of her classroom, with desks still trembling from the chaos, she sat across from Brandon. He avoided her gaze, shame heavy on his shoulders. She could have destroyed him, exposed him, ended his reputation with a single phone call. But instead she told him her story. About the years she spent training where failure meant death. About the nights she slept with sand in her teeth and fear in her veins. About the men she'd seen crumble under pressure, and the ones who rose through pain. And finally she told him why she left, that war takes more than it gives and teaching was her way to heal. Imagine his silence, the way every word chipped away at the armor he wore. Brandon didn't speak at first. His fists clenched, then loosened, his eyes wet though he tried to hide it. For the first time he wasn't the predator, he was the boy beneath, broken by expectations, drowning in anger he didn't understand. And she saw it. She saw the fight wasn't with her but with himself. Instead of punishment she gave him a choice. "You can keep being feared, Brandon," she said, her voice steady. "Or you can learn what real strength looks like. The kind that doesn't destroy, it protects." Do you feel the shift? The moment when the villain isn't a villain anymore, but just a boy desperate for direction? Weeks passed and something changed. Brandon stopped mocking. He started listening. Slowly, awkwardly, he even helped. At first, students thought it was an act, another ploy. But as months turned, the truth showed, he wasn't the same. The boy who once raised his hand in violence now raised it to answer questions. The bully became a protector, standing between others and harm, carrying the weight of the lesson she gave him that day. Can you see the transformation, the way brokenness reshaped into something stronger? Years later, long after graduation, Brandon returned. Not as a boy, but as a man in uniform, his own path carved through service, discipline, and redemption. He stood at her classroom door, eyes steady, and whispered, "You saved me." And Miss Carter, the woman who had once silenced chaos with the strength of her past, simply smiled. Because she knew, it wasn't her SEAL training that ended his career as a bully. It was her humanity. That's the power of one moment, one choice, one act of mercy. And it changes everything.